it's things I'm learning for sure. Like, just being out and, like, about and figuring out, like, dating in life and what I want in a relationship or whatever. It's funny you brought that up, though, because last night I was out with a friend, and he was like, it's almost like I'd rather have the person die than leave me. And I was like, yeah, them dying is so much easier to deal with than the rejection of them leaving you, which is sad and gross and sadistic. But it's true, because somehow the person dying is a lot better than them just saying, I don't like you. Or as My Chemical Romance would say, I don't love you. Like, I loved you yesterday.
I didn't really like those guys when I was in high school, but now, over the years, I've really come to love that fucking band. They got a lot of good shit, and there's a lot of truth to that as well.
Well, the funny thing is, like, when I was in high school, like, I was a huge MCR fan. My first concert was the Black Parade when I was 14. Like, I was ovaries deep. I thought it was awesome, but, like, I got so much shit from everyone for liking My Chemical Romance, like, from, like, the, you know, we had, like, our little, even, like, within, like, the clique of, like, scene hardcore metal kids, like, My Chemical Romance was, like, they would call it pussy shit. And so, like, me liking it, you know, I stuck to my guns and loved it. And now people are like, oh my god, My Chemical Romance is the best. And I'm like, fuck all of you. I was the original fan. I get all, like, offended for no reason. I think they might be the band I've seen the most in concert. I think I've seen them, like, 5 times. And then they broke up.
Oh, man. I felt the same way about NSYNC when I was in middle school.
Did you really?
Well, I never really liked them, but to this day, like, they're more nostalgic, but at the time, they're like, don't listen to NSYNC, that's gay! You know, because at 12, all you're trying to prove is that you're not gay.
Yeah, so, which is sad.
Every day, like, it just, like, there was a checklist, like, are you gay today? No, prove it. Okay, here's my checklist. I don't listen to NSYNC.
I don't listen to NSYNC. What else would be on that list? It's so dumb. Oh my god. I'm so offended that, like, the word "that's so gay" has, like, made like, the phrase "that's so gay" made a comeback. Are you people stupid? Like, why do you say that? Or, like, retarded is now used as an insult again. I'm like, guys, what the hell? I thought we forgot this shit. Like, we're acting like flipping toddlers, throwing around words that, like, I just get so mad. It brings me back to our episode a couple of times ago when we were talking about words and we got really heated. Fucking words, man.
Yeah, they never really went away.
I know they didn't go away, but at the same time, oh god, they probably just got swept under the rug. That's all. Not
even that. It became the climate to where people were too afraid to say those words. So then time went away, and now it's okay to say them now because there's no more. There's no more, like, promoted disdain for them anymore. It's
so dumb. Because at the end of the day, like, I probably see more, like, I don't know, I was trying to think about, like, do I hear and see more homophobia or, like, racist shit in my day-to-day life in this world? And I'm not sure. I think maybe homophobia is more acceptable. Like, calling, like, we were talking about, like, how, like faggot is, like, easier for me to say for God knows what reason, even though I shouldn't be saying it, over, like, the N-word, which I would never say. Like, even there, like, oh, it's okay to say that, but don't say the N-word. Like, yeah. It's a huge contradiction, and I know it.
Right.
But yeah, it's just, ugh.
Unless you're more comfortable with being homophobic than racist.
Oh God, I'm not comfortable with being any of those. Thank you very much. Although I think our society is more okay with it. That's what I was trying to say. I think our society is more okay with being homophobic because, well, at least in America, probably because, like, there's a lot of people who, like, have finally, you know, recognized, like, oh, wow, America was really shitty to people of color. We need to correct that. But it's still, I think, a revolutionary thing for people to think about, wow, we've treated non-straight people like shit these past how many hundreds of years. Wow, maybe they need to have some recognition too. Not that I'm, like, trying to equalize the plights or issues that both groups have, because I feel like that's a pissing contest that no one should start.
Yeah. I wish I would say more shit than yeah whenever I just respond to you. Because I would say, yeah, that's the truth. The thing is that... But,
I've noticed that, but I didn't want to say anything because I just, like, I don't feel like it's purposeful to say. Because that's just your response. Like, whatever.
Yeah, because I'm not really waiting to say anything. Like, after you... there's very few times where you have a point and I'm just, like, waiting to add what I have to say because I'm just listening. And then when you end, I'm like... oh shit. But yeah. But
see, I think I have something about maybe a third of the time, like, I have something to go off of that I think of. But I also, like, remember when you were talking about, like, the longer you're waiting to speak, the less you're listening to the person who's talking to you. And so I try to have a foot in both camps, basically, to, like, know how to keep the conversation going, but really listen to what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like in speech class, that's why I always recommend for people to go first whenever they give a speech in their class, because if they go fifth, they're just anxious for 4 speeches, and that's like a half an hour. So,
I agree. My students are going to have to do a presentation in a month, and they're all, like, flipping out already.
Oh, they're not going to listen. And everybody's afraid, like, they're being judged. So if they have a speech, like, because you could have a speech on how to build a tent, and if somebody has a speech like, I hate gay people, you're not going to listen to that speech because you just want to talk about your tent. So you're letting all this evil shit escape because you're nervous.
Exactly. You're nervous and you're thinking about, like, what you want to say, and you want to be good. And then this asshole over here is just spewing his hatred, and you're not even thinking, whoa, man, what the fuck? Because you're like, how am I going to explain the tent and the proppy thingies? What are the proppy thingies called? Oh, God. Oh, God.
I think the gay shit, the reason it's at where it's at now is because it became part of the pop culture in the very similar way that video games have.
So you mean that, like, with gamer culture also came the use of, like, homophobic slurs?
Not necessarily. Well, even now to this day, I can probably go online and then, I'd probably get like, hey, faggot, boom, get shot in the head with a laser gun.
But that's what I mean, though. Like, that's where, I mean, that's where I've seen a lot of it come from, is like guys on the internet calling each other, like, faggot or whatever. And then I think it transcends the video game into, like, the people who are playing the video games. And then they think it's okay in, like, public to call people that when it's not appropriate in either context. But I do see a lot of it, like, calling people that in video games is, like, so common. Like, when you're playing the Fortnite, or I can't think of another video game. I'm sorry. I'm not a video game person. But when you're playing some game and, like, you can, like, interact with other people, like, and you, like, are fighting or whatever, and then, like, get wrecked, and then, like, call them a homophobic slur.
It's being used more often as something funny.
That's
than
the
hurtful.
thing. Like, they think it's funny to, like, Like, I even had to explain to a student that dyke was a slur because he had heard it and thought it just was a synonym for bitch. Either way, he should not have been saying that. He shouldn't be saying bitch either. But I was like, that is a slur towards lesbians. And he was like, no, it's not. I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you again, and you need to accept what I'm telling you as the truth, because it is. That means lesbian, and the same way as there's, a word that starts with an F for men who are gay. And he was like, but, like, really? Like, it was mind-numbing for him. So at a certain extent, like, and that's what always bothers me, is, like, that's an example of, like, the truth is that this word means X, but people have made it somehow to mean Y, and it doesn't mean that, and it's not appropriate to use in the Y context because it still means X.
I know what you're saying. Like, there's very few things that offend me, and there's really no words out there. I mean, I can understand, like, justifying and defending, like, the positions, but now, like, faggot is almost a term of endearment. Like, with your friends, like, hey, man, you want to get together, eat some food, and be faggots together? Like,
see, like, I don't see that at all. Like, I don't even, like, it's not that, like, my skin's, I had a friend actually in college that if her dad was gay, and, like, if you said that word, she would, like, shut you down instantly. Like, you do not say that word. Like, that was always used against my dad. And I'm like, so, like, I think I'm coming from that space, and, like, also, like, that's a word that guys throw around at each other. And that's probably also why me as a girl, I'm like, that's not funny, because, like, and it's probably, too, because, like, gay men have been marginalized in similar ways to how women have been marginalized. So as soon as and that's also, too, probably, when I see groups that are marginalized, I probably start firing back, because as a woman, I've been marginalized in certain instances, and then I'm just kind of like, don't you fucking do that!
Yeah, but, I don't know why I'm, like, smiling right now, only because I'm thinking of how far the word faggot has come, because I could just talk to most of my pretty much all of my guy friends, and be like, just talk about being a faggot, and it's funny.
Now, here's the thing, though. If one of your friends was gay, would you still use that word?
Yeah.
Really?
I have a gay friend, and we talk about gay shit all the time.
Wait, but do you, call him...
I don't call him a faggot.
Okay, why, though? Think about that. Why?
Well, I never call anyone a faggot. I just talk about being a faggot.
You use the word?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brent, I think you shouldn't do that. I'm just gonna say that. I just don't, I get gross feelings. Don't do that. You can do what you want. I'm just saying I don't like that.
Oh, that's fine. I'm never gonna call you a faggot.
Well, it doesn't matter. Just calling anything. Nah, I don't like it. I'm gonna be called a bleeding heart liberal. It's gonna be great.
See, okay, I'm for dismantling, oppressive systems that have marginalized, oppressed people. I think there are more ways to do that than to just not listen to context of words. Because if certain people can say words and it's fine, then what's the point of context? I think context is more important than the word itself. I think
context is important. If it's like a clinical examination of the word, that's one thing. It's completely entirely different though when it's thrown around in a casual way with people. At least that's how I view it. And again, going back to the idea of relationships, if you have a relationship with a person where you can use that word with them, that's appropriate, that's okay.
Yeah, that's context. The context is right there. The word itself isn't an evil word every single time if certain groups of people can use it, and it's great.
Yes, but at the same time, then it doesn't refute the fact that in certain spaces it's not appropriate. And it's hard because we're speaking in shades of gray rather than, when you take a black and white stance, it's a hard line. But because words can be used in different contexts and be appropriate, it's hard to say, it then becomes this thing of well, why can't I say it? And it's well, you're not in this context. Well, but then it raises so many other questions in people and certain people's heads or whatever. I don't know. I totally hear what you're saying too with just because people don't say the N-word, just because people don't go around using homophobic slurs doesn't mean the world's gotten any better for those groups of people. On the surface, maybe, because they can go out and they're not humiliated or these horrible words are thrown at them. Sure, maybe that's not happening. But is the world actually that much better for these groups of people? Are things actually changing? Or is it just a pat on the back? We don't use these horrible words anymore. I
still think context matters. And I will say the world is better than it was even 50 years ago because... I remember 14 years ago, I saw Brokeback Mountain in theaters. Mm-hmm. And the entire time, people were making fun of that movie. And everywhere on the news, every parody movie was making fun of that movie. And it was cool, just openly bash and hate gay. It was just totally cool, But now, I don't hear people saying the same thing about Moonlight or Call Me By Your Name or Dear Simon, the new one about the gay... I don't hear people talking shit about gay people that much anymore. And I know there's certain people who are still homophobic, but the culture in general, I think, has really gotten better. It's not perfect. We're not at this utopia, but...
I think it's improved. I think it's improved, but, there's still progress to be made with, any of it.
Right.
And that's, the hardest thing is, the work is rarely over when you want it to be over, right? The work is a lot more than it ever seems like it would be. It's always going to take, again, it takes more than just not saying those words. It takes more than just not criticizing those films or music types anymore. There's other things to it too. And I think we're working on it. It's not that progress has not been made. It's just that it needs to keep going. And there's frontiers now that are... have always existed but are now more at the forefront, especially with trans rights and how our world treats transgender people or non-binary people and so on and so forth. That's a new concept to many people that one could not be a boy or a girl. They're somewhere in the middle, or they just don't feel comfortable boxing themselves in. I think that's a new concept for people to have to work work within or work inside of and to understand. And there's nothing wrong with it being like, you know, like not understanding it, especially like if it's so alien from your own experience. I mean, it's going to sound crazy maybe, but at the same time, like, we always have to go back. In my head, I always go back to that, like, mutual, I don't want to say respect, just because I do think that on a certain level, like, if you just respected everybody, it doesn't mean anything. But I don't know what the word that I would use in the place of, but I do feel that I have, like, this, that people do have, like, a mutual understanding or respect towards pretty much everyone as a human being. What is the word I'm looking for, though?
Do you mean, like, courteous and decent? So like
you have decency towards people?
Yeah, because if you just treat some people like, hey, what's up? You just say hi, you know, like you acknowledge like their existence. I think respect has to be earned, but with being decent and courteous, that's always on the, like, as a given.
No, I think and I think that maybe one thing that we've lost is just like that common decency, because like oftentimes if someone says like, hey, that's indecent in this context, like it's not appropriate, some people do feel like they can say like, well, can like challenge it, and that always does make me like really uncomfortable when I'll be like, well, it's not decent of you to call this person this when they've asked you to call them that, and then they fire back and are like, well, blah blah blah, I have my reasons why I don't want to do that. I don't know, it's just, this postmodern life, that's what I will say.
Yeah, I'll give the trans rights, like the whole trans thing, 4 more years until there's severe backlash on it.
Really?
In the culture.
Really?
Yeah. I give it 4 more years. You know, I think right now, like the media and the culture is very like embracing of it, but I'm going to give it about 4 more years until it completely erases itself, and we're back to square one.
My hope is that doesn't happen. I mean, I think it could be like you were saying, with like the fact that like you're seeing more of a shift in terms of like film, where it's just kind of like accepted and it's okay and people aren't making fun of it. I'd hope the same thing would happen. I'm not sure though. I mean, only time will tell. I hope that it's made positive gains and has positively impacted people. But I mean, who knows? I don't want to wish it to explode, because I think there is good work being done in people's hearts and minds through it. And especially like, even I know a lot of people don't like it, but honestly the conversation on like words and kind of that, I know a lot of people are going to shut on postmodernism, but like really like think about like how words construct reality and meaning in life. I think that's so important and integral to our existence. But I do see that, you know, for some people it's overwhelming, it's daunting, there's not a lot of understanding, there's not a lot of patience or time to understand. I get that, like, that's their experience, that's their reality, but we also have to see the other side, that another person's experience in reality is very different, and, you know, common decency necessitates now that you do this, because these people exist. So, I think that's, you know, it's so weird. It's funny, too, because when we talk about decency, like, just being decent, like, you have a relationship with people you don't even know, and part of that, like, relationship is just being courteous and decent to each other. There's a certain way you have to act, even when you don't even know and have, like, an intimate relationship with a person.
I go saying, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I agree. Fuck, I say that a lot, too. I don't know what else to...
Just say you disagree.
I disagree. Courtesy and decency should be the base level of all human interaction. Whether you like somebody or don't, or agree with them or don't, you at least start at that base of like, okay, we're both humans, and if we could have a conversation, then that's fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the world would look like as a utopia, and I don't think it will ever get to that point, and I don't think it should, because it would only last for a day. It would be exactly like when the Cubs won the World Series, and then literally a week later, Trump won. Like, that's what the utopia would be. To at least the Chicago Cubs, like, fan, who was also a liberal. You know, there's a lot of improvements that we could make, and I think at least having honest discussion is a step in the right direction. What I don't like now is, like, the militant aspect behind a lot of this social change. especially with like the trans people, like I do kind of feel bad for them because there's two different types. There's the ones that just want to fit in with the culture and society and just want to be recognized and left alone, and like they're just regular people, you know. And I've met quite a few of them, and they're good people. They're decent people. And then there's the militant ones who are ruining it for the rest of them.
I mean, I think even the militant ones are good people. Like, they're still people. Like, even if they're militant, even if they're in your face, like, I mean, they have, it's uncomfortable. It's off-putting to many people, the militant nature of it. It's definitely unsettling. But at the same time, like, I mean, I don't really see that. Like, honestly, like, in my day-to-day life, I don't see, like, people, like, especially, like, trans people, like, shoving in my face, like, what they want. Like, I never see that, even online. And I'm a very liberal person. Like, I don't really see it. So, like, it's hard for me because I also think a lot of the ideas about, like, when people, like, shit on feminism, when they shit on trans rights, when they shit on, like, non-binary people, it's oftentimes, like, perpetuated through shit posting and, like parts of the internet that, like, many people maybe, like, don't agree with. That, like, there's parts of, like, you know, Tumblr, there's, like, you know, there's blogs or whatever that label themselves as feminist, and there's these feminist ideas, but not all feminists subscribe to them. But yet then we paint with a broad brush, like, what a feminist looks like, and it's all dictated on this shit posting. So, I mean, like, I don't really see that, to be honest, but that's just my experience. I don't see it.
I think the trans thing is going to collapse from within, and it's going to start within the LGBT community because there's a lot of gays coming out, like, against trans now too. So it doesn't even have to do with, like, straight shit. There's a lot of things, like, even within, like, the gay community, I'm just seeing, like, the trans stuff kind of crumbling. So that's why I say 4 years until, like, it's just gay versus trans. Very much how you have feminism in many ways collapsing because there's a lot of infighting. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just like the people who do believe in feminism versus the people who don't believe feminism. It's people who believe this feminism versus people who believe that feminism. It's all pro wrestling shit.
Well, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like the ideas are one thing, the movement or the people are another. Does that make sense? So, yeah. Like, the ideas that feminism perpetuates, like, live on and prosper and are different, even though they're maybe said by the people who carry on. Like, I feel like there's difference between the ideas versus the people, some people who carry them and enact them out. And I think that, who said ideas never die? Was that V for Vendetta? Ideas never die. People die, but ideas never will.
I'm only thinking of The Sandlot, like, heroes may be remembered, but legends never die. And I haven't seen V for Vendetta since I saw it in theaters. And that was the last time I saw it.
Did you ever read the graphic novel?
No.
It's so different, and I regretfully like the movie more. No idea why. The romance line was really stupid, but I like the movie more than I like the graphic novel. And I've read, what else? Alan Moore have I read? Watchmen. Have you read Watchmen?
Oh, God, yeah, I love Watchmen.
Watchmen's so good. I actually was talking a couple days ago with my department chair, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we taught Watchmen? And she's like, do you forget how much sex is in that book? And I'm like, oh, I forgot. I read it when I was in high school. I was 16 when I read it. There is a blue penis in there as well.
Yeah, that transcends regular sex. And it's just a flaccid, fucking all-knowing, powerful penis. It's not even a cock. It's just a penis.
Oh my God.
If it was a cock, that'd be a fucking banned book, but it's just a chilling penis just hanging around.
Well, he's just, like, naked. He's just a body. Like, he's like floating and he's naked.
Yeah, and he doesn't give a shit.
No, he doesn't.
He chills out on Mars and he's like, oh man, yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, Dr. Manhattan, man. He's kind of like an existential quandary. He's kind of like he has so many issues with his, like, reality and, like, who he is and what he's meant for. I'm just, like, drifting into space thinking about Watchmen and how I need to reread it.
Oh, that's fantastic. He didn't give a shit about love either.
He did not give a shit about love, and that's why why am I gonna call her Silver Serpent? She had, what was her name? It was SS.
Motherfucker.
Silken Spectre?
Silk Spectre.
Silk Spectre, that was her name. Silk Spectre. And that's why they, like, fizzled out, because he, like, couldn't. Commit.
See, when you don't have a lot of love in the world, that's when shit really, like, you see the shit that you're seeing now on the news, like all this strife and fucking violence, because, you know, the decisions that we put into choosing what is love, that's really, it's going into the combat zone now. So, the way I see it, it's a long analogy, so bear with me. I'm still working it out. So imagine you have a home.
Okay.
So in a home, a typical home, let's just say your home, my home, there are 4 things that we have in every single home. We have tools. So these are things that we use every single day, like in our lives that have a practical use. So for instance, your shower, your toilet, your bed, your couch, your TV, your kitchen. Like there's nothing that about them that, you know, you would use for another use. I mean, the toilet's the toilet, the shower's the shower. So these are things that we need to use in order to have the home function.
Yeah.
And then you have decorations. So you have things hanging up on the wall that, you know, they just add like little pieces of flair to the house. So like I'm looking at a picture right now. There's like a grapevine thing. I don't know what that is. That's on the wall.
It's a bunch of grapes and like 2 waiters holding the giant glass with grapes in it, and they're also holding wine bottles, and the label says Les vins sélection union dans votre verre, which is the union wine selection in your viewing.
I mean, I don't know what that means or like how to translate that, but nonetheless, it is just a decoration. I mean, it's a nice picture. It doesn't really speak to the overall house because it's not a vineyard, but it's just a nice little thing. And I'm looking around, there's like a corgi calendar, there's a picture with flowers, there's like a family picture. So like there's all kinds of like just decorations that just like show a lived life that are just hanging up throughout the home.
I actually realized how many. So we have that there was that picture that you pointed out with that, and then there's 2 pictures of wine bottles, and there's actually a vineyard thing right over there. And that's my favorite, the modern art piece, and then that creepy thing, and my corgi calendar. Yes. Yeah,
I've really grown to love corgis over the years. I still love pugs. Pugs are my number one, but in any case, yeah.
Pugs are your number one?
Pugs are my number one. I love pugs. They can't fucking breathe. They're so cute. I mean, a lot of people hate them. I love them. They're all my children.
They all are so ugly. And you know, like that pug face where it's just like a smashed in, like happy face, and they're just like,
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah. That's how I feel when I love. So I'm a fucking pug. But nonetheless, these are not tools that are hanging up on your wall. They are just decorations.
Yes.
The third category that you have are toys. So things that keep you entertained. So for instance, like your TV, you don't have video game systems like a 360 or a PS4, but you know, like just like other things. So you might have like a music player, or you might have
laptop, iPod.
Exactly. Things that keep you like entertained, that are just like, you know, used specifically like for yourself, if not like just for, you know, whoever else is in the house.
Yeah.
And then the last thing you have are weapons. So you have knives and
well, those are tools. I use them as tools, but they could be weapons.
Exactly. So you could, I mean, shit, if you even had a gun too, like that's definitely a weapon, because you don't want to you wouldn't clean the gutters with a fucking shotgun.
Wait, that's not something you should do?
No.
Shit.
If it works, then I would say just.
It's like using a rifle to go fishing.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You don't need the shit. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
So you have tools, you have toys, you have weapons, and you have decorations.
Okay.
So I feel that if you have these 4 things in a home, it makes the home work. It makes it as a place that you can go home to, literally go home to, and then just like live out your life and like just make things function. So the home wouldn't function if you just, you know, shat in your bed and you took a shower in the toilet, you know, like, or if you, you know, used like a knife for fucking stabbing people, or if you just took a fire extinguisher, you just shot me in the face.
Yeah.
Right now. I think what's happening now in our culture is that we don't have this home where these categories are defined.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I feel with words and with language, you still have tools, you have toys, you have decorations, and you have weapons. And I think they're all mismatched. So we have words that are tools, that should be tools, are being used for decorations. So, for instance, feminists or privilege, or just being woke. A lot of these are decorations and not the tools that they should be to really facilitate change.
Yeah, sure.
So you also have decorations that are being used as weapons. So for instance, your job title. So what do you do? Like, okay, I'm a teacher. I work at a warehouse. I'm a computer tech. Like, these are decorations. They're not really speaking to like who you are as a person, especially like when it comes to money, because, you know, you can have a lot of money that doesn't add to your character. That just adds to the shit that you're able to get. So, same thing with weapons. You know, we talk about the N-word and faggot and all these other words. So, and then that just leaves. So I got tools, I got decorations, I got toys. So that could be a pet thing. So that, or not a pet thing, but like, you call the people you love. Okay. Hey friend. Hey baby. Hey toots. Hey honey. You know, those are,
pug.
Hey pug. So if you were in a relationship right now and you were with your boyfriend and somebody else came up to you and said, hey baby, they're playing with your toys.
Well, it's also, again, you've talked about context. And, like, it's appropriate for, like, my boyfriend to call me honey. But if a random guy or a random woman calls me honey, it's like, no. That's not appropriate.
So, with this current culture, everything is so mismatched. Tools are being used as decorations. Toys are being used as weapons. Weapons are being used as, tools. If we want to make this shit the best that it can be, we have to figure out like what the fuck goes where, because the media and especially like our reliance on social media has really mismatched all of 4 of these categories. Where are the tools anymore that are not being used as decorations?
Yeah, well, I think that I think you've talked about previously when words get kind of like commercialized, and it's like when it's hip to be like feminist, like that happened maybe like a year and a half ago or whatever. Like all of a sudden it's like feminism was like the it word, but it was like diet pop feminism. It was commercial, it was marketable, it was mostly like white women feminism. It wasn't diverse or anything like that. It wasn't really like inclusive of all women in all experiences. It was just more so like, I'm a woman, I'm smart, I can have my job, and I can do what I want with my body. It's almost like very second wave, like revamped. But the thing is, like, we're not in second wave anymore, even though I know you identify as like radical second wave. Like, you know, things have moved on. But the only reason it got any credit, and the only reason is because it was being used as a toy. It was a novelty, it was entertainment, it was commercialized. How much could they sell with this image of feminism? Like, you know what I mean? So what I'm really trying to say is that Marxism undercuts everything, and the means of production control us, including our words. Thank you.
I think a lot of the third wave feminism is what you were saying about second wave with being like this marketable like image. It's a decoration more than it's a movement.
Well, I think it came about in the third wave, but the second wave ideals of being free from men and reclaiming body, job, womanhood, sex, that's very second wave. But within the time frame of the third wave is when it came to be this commercial thing. And actually, there's some suggestion that we're out of third wave now. We're post third wave. We could be entering fourth wave, but it definitely did happen in that time. That versus like second wave feminism. I mean, I wasn't alive then. I would imagine it was not marketable though.
Oh, definitely not. I remember our discussion about words a couple episodes ago. It really got me thinking. I really couldn't figure out what was bothering me. And then I did what I always do, is I returned to pro wrestling to make sense of it. And I was just like, why the fuck am I upset with this? Like, what's really going on here? What was that point that I was trying to make a few episodes ago? And it really just hit me like a fucking train. I was on the ride home and I was just thinking like, where the fuck do I see this in pro wrestling? And perhaps that's another podcast for the future. It's just like breaking down philosophies through the guise of pro wrestling, especially politics. But going on in pro wrestling right now, it all came through with the character of Woken Matt Hardy. I will say that Woken Matt Hardy, in my opinion, is one of, if you really analyze it, he is one of the greatest characters in pro wrestling right now because he represents so much of the fucking zeitgeist. So, for instance, like his original character was just regular Matt Hardy. So he came into the WWE with his brother Jeff. They were just a tag team. They were Team Extreme. They didn't really have personalities to them. And that was something Matt Hardy always struggled with as a singles wrestler throughout his entire career in WWE. Mm-hmm. So then he left somewhere around 2009 and 2010. He went off to another company called TNA. So where he adopted this broken Matt Hardy character years later. So he talks a lot more crazy. He has a bigger vocabulary. He's like, yes, I have performed many. I can't really mimic it right now, but he's just I have danced and serenaded the celestial beings, and I needed a vessel for Matthew Hardy.
Yes,
that is so perfect now, and he came back into WWE last year at WrestleMania as regular ass Matt Hardy, but he would have these, so last year he came back with Jeff into the tag team match at WrestleMania, and they were just the regular Hardy Boys again, and people were chanting delete for their broken Matt Hardy, like for the gimmick. So it wasn't until this past December where broken Matt Hardy came back, but he was now woken Matt Hardy.
Oh, so this character is only a few months old?
It's an extension of his broken character, which he had in TNA for years, but he had a lot of legal battles with that name and the gimmick, so he couldn't come to WWE with it until it was settled up in court and outside of court. So, but with the Woken gimmick, he had an adversary in Bray Wyatt. Now, Bray Wyatt was a cult leader. Mm-hmm. He speaks of Sister Abigail, and he tries to brainwash people.
Yes.
So the last match that Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, Woken Matt Hardy had...
The Ultimate Deletion.
The Ultimate Deletion. Woken Matt Hardy threw Bray Wyatt into the lake of reincarnation.
Yep.
Only to be blessed again. And then I was like, holy fuck, this is what's going on now that I really hate. I think there's this image of wokenness that Matt Hardy is exhibiting. And it's all through this guise of pro wrestling. So Matt Hardy, just like a lot of these like woken individuals that are using tools as decorations, what they're doing is they have this vocabulary of words that don't have the same meaning as they used to before. Mm-hmm. So what do they try to do? They're trying to take everybody that they see as the cult leaders and throw them into the lake of reincarnation to be reborn.
Well, and I think you're right. Like, so many people are trying to, like, I think that, think about tact again. Like, many people are all too eager to, like, forcibly grab and drown the cult leader by any means necessary, rather than thinking about like the tactics in which the cult leader will willingly talk to you and like where you can engage in civic discourse. You don't need to have an ultimate deletion battle with the mower of lawns and the chair of wheels? The chair of wheels. Just like, by the way, that ultimate deletion shit was, I lost my cool. I kind of hate the woken Matt Hardy character because he's so ridiculous, but in terms of you using this as like understanding like what's happening in this world, I do agree that like they're taking down specific cult leaders or people and trying to make them woken as well. It's just that the problem is that like tone and tact and making sure your audience is willing to listen to you is a huge thing. And unfortunately, I feel like many people think that the ultimate solution is to just scream and shove it in their face. And if you're not doing that, you're a bad whatever you're trying to be. Like, I would be a bad, like, some people would think I'm a bad vegan because I don't, like, yell at people when they eat meat in front of me or eggs or dairy or whatever. Like, I could give a shit what you eat. Like, I do not care. But some people would be like, no, you need to be, like, sending out, videos of animals being slaughtered and getting people's faces and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's just that's too easy. Like, it's too easy to just, like, get in people's faces about everything. You seem victorious because you're screaming, but that's it.
Yeah, what it really is a car with no engine that's just completely plastered in stickers. That just show you, like, what, like, the slogans are. I mean, I'm not talking about, like, you have some pretty cool bumper stickers, or you had the one that they made you take off.
I had the one that they made me take off.
But have you seen the ones that were completely covered on the back windows, and all they were messages and slogans and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah, I remember that a lot. And I think you're right, though, that it has become just, like, would you use the word slacktivism?
Slacktivism is different. Well, slacktivism plays a in using a tool as a decoration. Because if you were just, like me, like, here's the thing. I would consider myself a feminist ally. I will not call myself a feminist. Because at least what like more of the second wave stuff that I've been reading compared to the third wave, a lot of the stuff I've seen in the third wave, all you have to do is just say you are, and then you are. You don't have to do anything else. You could still be it could be a male and a feminist, and you could still support porn, and you could still like do all kinds of other stuff that, you know, feminists were originally trying to get rid of. And that's all you have to do is just say you are. Mm-hmm. And then you're like in with the group. So it's kind of like with pro wrestling. All you have to do is just say that you're a fan, and then you are able to cheer in that same arena.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that I see on social media, especially like going back to the Woken Matt Hardy character, his fucking catchphrase is delete. And the final deletion. So you have these militant people who are online trying to fucking delete the ideas of others.
Well, and the way they accomplish it usually is just by screaming at the person into submission or screaming them into, like, there's not any, you know, there's never dialogue. It's just screaming and, like, deconstructing in a very forceful, hostile way, like, why the person's wrong. It's never, like, I don't know. Again, we come back to this idea of, like, the need for civility and, like, discourse. Because discourse is not shouting your thoughts. Discourse is, like, authentic conversation. You can disagree with somebody, like we've done here. In the past couple episodes, we've disagreed more than we've ever disagreed in any conversation we've ever had. Has it ever blown out into screaming, harsh words, or hard feelings?
On my end, no. I mean,
my end, neither.
So, like, do you secretly hate me?
No, not at all. I'm using this as an opportunity to talk about the fact that, like, you know, you can have these hard conversations and you can disagree with people. I don't think you're a terrible person because we disagree on something. You still have common decency for everyone you interact with, as far as I've ever seen. Now, you could be a piece of shit when you're not around me, and I just don't know about it.
No, I'm just a faggot.
Oh my god, I don't. I'm so offended right now. Brent, I'm so offended.
But I think with this, if we have social change come through social media, we're going to have a lot more shit crumble than come out of the ashes, especially when a lot of these movements are very temporary.
Yeah. Very
much like a storyline in pro wrestling.
I really want our next episode to be about the political, like, understanding our world through the guise of or the lens of WWE.
Oh God, I could probably talk 3 hours just by myself, like just all the shit. And I've been trying to document it, and
let's do it.
Yeah. So I think where does this all leave love? And I think what happens is we have to if there's anything that we have to reclaim for our society, any word or anything like feeling, we have to reclaim the feeling of love. And we have to reclaim its word. We cannot use love as a decoration. Yeah. It has to be used as a tool because there's no other way for it to function. Yeah. Love's been used as a weapon. It's been used as a toy. It's been used as a thing that you put up on your wall, but it's not been used as a tool.
Yeah.
For the overall society.
I agree 1,000%.
So, yeah, but in any case, we have diverted into language again, and I'm feeling this might be a direction that the podcast could go in, and I just want to keep it to, like, discussing feelings and words. I have nothing against it, but these are very important topics to discuss.
Yeah, they are. A part of my brain is like, what if we took all of our pieces, our little segments about, like, words and understanding and discourse and civility, and we package them all together and release it as one thing. But that's something to think about in post-op.
Definitely.
Post-pro. But
that'll be the true test of our podcast, not for the audience, but both of us.
Yeah. We can't kill each other in the process. Just kidding. No, because we're civil. We're civil. I said that wrong. Civil. We're civil.
If you wanted to kill me, I'd understand. But
no, I don't want to kill you.
I think I definitely want to hear, like, everything you have to say.
Well, I pretty much say everything I want to say. I usually think about how I want to say it, though. Because, again, tact is important.
Yeah. So it's either, I think it's more about intent, but that intent measures the impact.
For sure.
So I can go another hour and a half, but that's exactly what we just did. So with that being said, you guys like us on Facebook at Coffee and Catastrophe, and then follow us on Twitter at CCWBG. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves and be good to each other.
Bye now.